Did television executives accidentally kill some of the boldest sci-fi worlds of the 70s? One season, one bad time slot, one nervous network decision, and entire universes disappeared before audiences even understood how far they could go. These were not cheap throwaway shows. Some had cult followings, massive ideas, and futures that felt bigger than their budgets. But number one may be the cancellation that sci-fi history never truly forgave. Number 10, Arc 2, 1976. A ruined future, a rolling science lab, and a children's show that sounded more intelligent than half the adult sci-fi on television. Arc 2 looked like a Saturday morning adventure on the surface, but underneath that bright, family-friendly style was a surprisingly serious warning about where humanity could end up. The world of the show had been damaged by pollution, war, and social collapse, leaving young scientists to travel across the wasteland in a futuristic vehicle called the Arc 2. Their mission was not to conquer enemies or blast monsters. It was to bring knowledge back to broken communities. That alone made the series feel different. In a decade obsessed with space battles, alien invasions, and dystopian nightmares, Arc 2 believed science could still be heroic. Each episode had a moral problem, a survival challenge, and a strange little glimpse of a world trying to rebuild itself. The effects were modest, yes, but the idea was bold. Kids watching cartoons were being handed a post-apocalyptic environmental parable. The tragedy is that it only lasted 15 episodes. It deserved room to grow darker, smarter, and more ambitious. Instead, television treated it like disposable weekend programming, when really it was quietly warning the future. Number 9. Gemini Man, 1976. This show had one of the coolest sci-fi hooks of the decade, and NBC barely gave audiences time to find it. Gemini Man followed Sam Casey, a government agent who survives an underwater accident and gains the power to become invisible through a special computerized watch. But there was a catch, and it was a brilliant one. He could only stay invisible for short bursts, because using the power too long could kill him. That single rule turned every mission into a countdown. Every disappearance carried danger. Every rescue had a ticking clock. It was espionage, superhero fantasy, and 70s science fiction rolled into one slick little concept. The series had action, mystery, secret experiments, and the kind of gimmick that should have made it a cult favorite. But television can be cruel when it does not understand what it has. Only a handful of episodes aired before the network pulled the plug, leaving the rest of the produced material stranded like a half-finished experiment. What makes Gemini Man frustrating is not that it failed because the idea was weak. It failed because the show was never truly allowed to prove itself. With better scheduling and more patience, this could have become one of the decade's signature sci-fi adventure series. Number 8. The Fantastic Journey, 1977. A missing boat, a cursed triangle, and an island where time itself seemed to break apart. The Fantastic Journey had the kind of premise that should have carried it for years. A group of ordinary travelers sails into the Bermuda Triangle and ends up trapped on a mysterious place called Earthend, where different eras, lost civilizations, and futuristic societies exist side by side. One zone could feel ancient, the next could feel alien, and another could reveal technology far beyond anything the characters understood. That made the show feel like a weekly mystery box before television really knew how powerful that formula could be. It was not just about survival. It was about discovery. Every episode promised a new world, a new danger, and another clue that reality was much stranger than the characters believed. The cast changed, the tone shifted, and the budget sometimes struggled to match the ambition, but the core idea was irresistible. This was sci-fi built on curiosity, the fear of being lost, and the thrill of not knowing what waited beyond the next portal. NBC canceled it after only 10 episodes, leaving the traveler's larger journey unfinished. That is what makes it hurt. The Fantastic Journey did not run out of imagination. Television simply ran out of patience. Number 7. Man from Atlantis, 1977 to 1978. Before Patrick Duffy became a household name in primetime drama, he was television's strangest aquatic hero. Man from Atlantis introduced Mark Harris, a mysterious man found washed ashore with webbed hands, unusual eyes, incredible swimming ability, and a possible connection to the lost civilization of Atlantis. That alone gave the series a mythic edge. He was not just another superhero or secret agent, he felt like a living question. Was he the last of an ancient race? A scientific miracle? A survivor from a forgotten world beneath the sea? The show used that mystery to send him on oceanic missions with the foundation for oceanic research, mixing adventure, environmental themes, espionage, and underwater science fiction. In the 70s, that made it feel unusually fresh. The 4 TV movies created strong curiosity, and the weekly series seemed ready to expand the mythology. But once it became a regular show, the network struggled with tone, scheduling, and production demands. Some episodes leaned into serious sci-fi, others into pulpy adventure, and the show never fully settled into the version it wanted to become. After just 13 episodes, it disappeared. The painful part is that the character had real potential. Man from Atlantis was not perfect, but its central mystery was too good to abandon so quickly. Number 6. Logan's Run, 1977 to 1978. A future that killed people for getting older should have been one of television's most disturbing sci-fi playgrounds. Logan's Run took the famous film's chilling idea, a beautiful society built on the execution of anyone who reaches 30, and turned it into a weekly fugitive adventure. Logan, once a sandman who hunted runners, escapes with Jessica in search of sanctuary, a rumored place where people can live freely beyond the rules of their controlled world. On paper, the show had everything: a dystopian society, moral rebellion, futuristic cities, dangerous outsiders, and 2 heroes learning that the world they served was built on fear. The best part was the structure. Every episode could send Logan and Jessica into a new community, each one revealing another broken version of civilization. That gave the series a built-in engine for social commentary, action, and mystery, but the television version often softened the sharper edges of the film. Instead of pushing the darker themes hard, it sometimes became a safer adventure of the week. Even then, the concept remained powerful enough to keep sci-fi fans interested. CBS canceled it after only 14 episodes, mostly before it could deepen its world. Logan's Run deserved more time because its premise was not exhausted. It had barely started running. Number 5. The Starlost, 1973 to 1974. This may be one of the greatest sci-fi ideas of the 70s, trapped inside one of television's most troubled productions. The Starlost began with a magnificent concept from Harlan Ellison: people living inside a gigantic generation ship, unaware that their enclosed world is only one small section of a massive vessel drifting through space. The young heroes discover the truth and realize the ship is damaged, lost, and heading toward disaster unless someone can reconnect its broken civilizations. That premise is pure science fiction gold. It has mystery, scale, social commentary, and the haunting idea that entire communities can forget the truth of their own existence. Each dome could contain a different culture, belief system, or technological nightmare, turning the ship into a universe of stories. But behind the scenes, the show became infamous for budget limitations, creative conflict, and technical problems. Ellison was so unhappy with the final product that he distanced himself from it, and that reputation followed the series for decades. Still, beneath the uneven execution, the brilliance of the idea keeps shining through. Only 16 episodes were made, and the show never became the epic it could have been. The Starlost feels less like a failure than a wounded masterpiece, a giant ship of possibilities abandoned mid-flight. Number 4. UFO, 1970 to 1971. This was not the friendly alien fantasy television usually sold to families. This was paranoia in a silver jumpsuit. UFO imagined a then-future 1980s where Earth was secretly under attack by a dying alien race, and only Shadow, the Supreme Headquarters Alien Defense Organization, stood between humanity and quiet invasion. What made the show so fascinating was not just the spacecraft, moon bases, interceptors, and futuristic design. It was the mood. UFO felt colder, stranger, and more adult than many sci-fi shows around it. The aliens were not charming visitors. They were a threat that arrived silently, violently, and often without easy answers. Shadow itself was hidden beneath a film studio, which gave the series a brilliant layer of secrecy. While the world watched entertainment, a private war for Earth was being fought underneath it. That idea alone deserved years of expansion. The show mixed espionage, military tension, psychological stress, and alien horror in a way that still feels surprisingly modern. But production delays, regional broadcasting problems, and shifting plans stopped it after one series. Later, its DNA seemed to echo into other darker alien defense stories. UFO was too stylish, too ambitious, and too unsettling to vanish so quickly. It did not just predict future sci-fi television. It looked like television had not caught up with it yet. Number 3. Planet of the Apes, 1974. One of cinema's most famous nightmare futures became a weekly television series, and somehow CBS let it die after only 14 episodes. Planet of the Apes should have been a guaranteed sci-fi event. The films had already burned the image of ape-controlled civilization into popular culture. Humans hunted, silenced, studied, and pushed to the edge of survival beneath a society that looked disturbingly familiar. The TV series took that world and turned it into a fugitive adventure, following two human astronauts trapped in the future as they moved from settlement to settlement, trying to survive the laws of an ape-dominated Earth. Roddy McDowall's return gave the show instant franchise credibility, and the premise allowed every episode to explore power, prejudice, fear, and rebellion through a science fiction lens. But television in the 70s often wanted simple weekly formulas, and Planet of the Apes carried a heavier legacy than most shows could manage. The masks, sets, makeup, and world-building demanded money and patience. The ratings did not explode fast enough, and the network pulled the plug before the series could build deeper mythology. That cancellation still feels frustrating because the show had a world viewers already understood and feared. It did not need reinvention. It needed commitment. Instead, one of sci-fi's richest futures was locked away too early. Number 2. Space. 1999. 1975 to 1977. A nuclear blast throws the moon out of orbit, and suddenly humanity's loneliest outpost becomes a drifting coffin in space. That is the haunting brilliance of space. 1999. The people of Moonbase Alpha are not explorers by choice. They are survivors, ripped away from Earth and forced into the unknown with no map, no rescue, and no guarantee that the next planet, signal, or alien encounter will not destroy them. The show's premise was massive, but its emotional power came from isolation. These were not heroes flying toward adventure. They were displaced people trying to stay human while the universe kept proving how small they were. Visually, the series was stunning for 70s television, with elegant spacecraft, detailed miniatures, and a serious cinematic look that made it feel bigger than a normal TV production. Its first season leaned into mystery, philosophy, and cosmic dread, while the second season shifted tone, adding faster adventure and new characters in an attempt to attract a wider audience. That creative change still divides fans, but it also shows how badly producers wanted the show to survive. After 2 seasons, the journey ended without a true final destination. Space. 1999 remains painful because its entire premise promised endless discovery. The moon was still traveling. The story was still alive. Television simply stopped following it. Number 1. Battlestar Galactica, 1978 to 1979. This was not just a canceled show. It was an entire civilization abandoned in deep space. Battlestar Galactica arrived with the scale of a movie event. 12 human colonies destroyed by the robotic Cylons, survivors gathered into a desperate fleet, and one aging warship leading them across the stars in search of a mythical lost home called Earth. The emotional hook was enormous. This was sci-fi built on genocide, faith, leadership, betrayal, and the terrifying idea that humanity's future depended on a fragile convoy running from machines that never stopped hunting. For late 70s television, the ambition was almost reckless. The space battles, mythology, costumes, ships, and world-building made it feel far bigger than the average weekly series. But that ambition came with a heavy price. The production was expensive, expectations were intense, and ABC eventually decided the numbers did not justify the cost. After just one season, the original run was cut short, even though the universe clearly had years of stories left. What makes this cancellation so famous is the legacy. Fans did not forget it. The franchise kept returning because the core idea was too powerful to disappear. Battlestar Galactica deserved number 1 because its cancellation did not end the story. It proved the story had been bigger than the network understood. So maybe the real tragedy is not that these shows ended. It is that television looked at bold futures, hidden worlds, alien wars, and drifting moons, then chose safety over imagination. Which canceled 70s sci-fi show deserved another season the most? Tell us below, because some universes still feel unfinished and some networks never knew what they threw away forever.